my gosh.
How'd he get in there? I haven't got a clue.
We will invade their worlds. We will tear down everything that might protect them. And then, when it's too late, when they're powerless and alone, they will realize the truth. They could have been gods.
So, I love the Power Rangers, and I've talked about this before in other videos, so I'll keep it brief. Simply put, growing up, the big three that easily had the most influence on my childhood was Pokemon, Ninja Turtles, and obviously Power Rangers. And surprisingly enough, over 20 years later, all three of them are still on the air. Hell, they're still so popular that they're hitting the big screen. And of course, they're all still getting new video games, which is pretty awesome. But times have changed. The shows I loved have changed. I've changed. I've grown up. My tastes have evolved, become more sophisticated. So to hold my attention and to be more than just nostalgic blasts from the past, I need my favorite childhood series to do the same. And Power Rangers: The Shattered Grid delivers.
I'm sorry. Did you think we were talking about the game? Well, fret not. We will get to it. But first, a little required reading.
For those of you not in the know, Power Rangers have had many different incarnations over the last 25 plus years they've been around, which includes the shows, the movies, games, and of course, comic books. And for my money, I'd say that the best adaptation so far has to be the Boom comic series. A series that is really what every Ranger fan has always wanted out of the franchise. Action-packed stories where the characters and world feel like they could actually exist. Real threats, actual consequences, and characters that have a lot more depth and personality than their real-world counterparts. Not to mention the large-scale crossovers. Really, they're just able to do all the things that the shows and movies can't do thanks to overbearing networks, limited Sentai footage, and even more limited budget. But the real show stealer here is easily the best villain the franchise has ever had, Lord Drakkon. Just take one look at this guy. He is exactly who and what you think he is, from an alternate dimension, because comic books. And even as a comic book exclusive character, he has definitely blown up. And that matters because, well, he's the main antagonist of the Shattered Grid series. And well, I think you get it. Though if you don't have any experience with the comics, then the game is a great place to start. Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is a download-only fighting game sitting at $20, excluding DLC because, 2019. And while the initial launch was lacking anything related to the comics story-wise, among other things, the latest free update fixed a lot of the major issues I had with the game, and made me have to re-edit like half of this. But it was worth it for the improvements. So if you drop the game quickly after launch, you might want to take another look. Getting started, the game now features a story mode alongside its arcade mode, which, yeah, I know should be the norm by now, but I'm just glad they included it with the update. The launch and the updates for this game have been a bit of a mess. Featuring an abridged, slightly altered version of the comics, the story sets the stage for what is easily the greatest threat the Power Rangers have ever faced, spanning decades of teams as Lord Drakkon wages war against everyone with a morpher. All being told through mildly animated comic panels and dialogue boxes. not the most modern method, but it holds true to the source material and is certainly acceptable for a budget title. Story-wise though, I'd still recommend the comics over the game. They're just more fleshed out. Though, oddly enough, the story hasn't been completed yet, and it's unclear if the rest of the story will be added as a free download down the line, or something we have to pay for when the other characters drop, which wouldn't be cool. But for what we have at the moment, I like it. And what really pulls it together, and was a genuine surprise after the complete lack thereof at launch, was the voice acting.
And here I held such high hopes for this conversation.
As a budget title, I wasn't really expecting much. Maybe just a few lines or grunts during combat, which again, at launch, the game didn't even have that. But they've gone the extra mile and actually got some of the original voice actors to come and reprise their roles. Tyrannosaurus! Including Austin St. John, David Fielding, Kerrigan, I don't know how to say her last name, and of course, the man himself, Jason David Frank. More phenomenal. Of course, being a budget title, they still had to take a hit somewhere, and that spot was definitely on the flip side of the audio, the music. While not inherently bad, the music in Battle for the Grid is just aggressively bland. With the exception of the reworked theme, which is still pretty weak, not a single tune stands out among the entire track, and none of them ever got me pumped up for a fight. And for a franchise like Power Rangers, whether it be the games or the show, which has always had some kick-ass tracks, that's unacceptable. Quick! Someone call Ron Wasserman. Alright, enough of that. I don't need to get copyright striked. But seriously, Ron made his own score for the game's trailer just for fun. Link down below. It's so much better. And I'm just saying that when your Super Nintendo counterpart's soundtrack completely blows yours out of the water, well, this is why patches exist. And while we're on the topic of weaker elements, the graphics here also are a bit of a mixed bag. The interface, waiting screen, stuff like that, all feels very barren and plain, which I get isn't a big deal, but it does make the game feel a bit small and a bit unpolished. It's oddly enough giving the game a bit of a retro feel, which is not helped by that small roster. In a day and age where fighters are pulling off bigger and more ambitious crossovers where they try to squeeze in as many characters as possible, looking at you, Smash. A game like Power Rangers Battle for the Grid, with its meager 9 characters at launch and 12 fighters after the update, almost seems laughable, even with more on the way. Personal note here though, super hyped to get my favorite Ranger in the game, the Gold Ranger. Fans data mined him, so we know he's in. It's like they were mining for gold.
Gold Ranger power! I'm such a nerd.
But I think that many of us are just hoping to get to see even more amazing Rangers make the cut. Because really, who wouldn't want their favorite Ranger in the game when they look this cool? Yes, if there is one aspect they didn't skimp on, it's the Rangers themselves. Every Ranger from every era looks badass. Easily the coolest looking we've ever seen them. In games at least. And that goes double for their alternate color schemes. There may only be 2 color options for every character, but come on, just look at the Magna Defender. That's quality over quantity, people, which is a solid way to look at the game. There isn't that much to it, but the quality is there where it counts, like in the combat. So, I've said this before, and I'll probably say it in every fighting game review I ever do, but to be blunt, despite my love for fighters, I am god tier garbage at them. So there's only so much I can contribute to talks of the meta. High tier play, competitive play, combos, or really anything like that. But what I can tell you is that the Battle for the Grid's combat is simple and fun, if nothing else. Matches are 3v3, Marvel vs. Capcom style, allowing you to swap your fighters in and out to recover health or summon them for even greater combos. And the controls are pretty bare bones, offering up a light, medium, heavy, and special attack, with them only changing depending on the directions pressed alongside them. And I say that's simple because there's no real button combinations to activate special moves. No quarter circle turns or anything like that. But what you do get is a 3-bar special meter. Using 1 bar with your normal special will give it a boost. Using 2 bars can activate your cinematic special, and that's about it. 3 bars doesn't do anything bigger, though the special meter charges pretty fast, so you'll have to keep on your toes. Especially since you can use 1 bar to force a character switch on your opponent, which can open up some interesting strategies. One unique mechanic that I absolutely have to mention is the Zord summons. Once per match, after you've lost one of your fighters, the summon option appears. This causes your Zord, or Goldar, to launch 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 massive attacks, though the number always seems to be at random. Can't quite figure it out. But these attacks do some serious damage, but they're also super telegraphed, so blocking and dodging them is simple enough, so it's up to you to create the setup or take advantage of the moment and play around them, which is pretty fun, but still there are some flaws to be mentioned, like the ranking system. To say it does a good job pairing you against similar ranked players would be a load of crap. For the record, I totally won that match. Though dude was clearly mad about it, since the next time we got paired up. Wow, you're really good at this game there, buddy. A true pro. So clearly, there are still some issues that need ironing out, and a few glitches too. Like this particle effect getting stuck and appearing in every match I had until I restarted the software. The game isn't perfect, but I enjoyed it. The combat is simple enough that even a scrub like me could pull off some strong combos, and the online matches were pretty heated and often down to the wire. But despite that, I wouldn't expect this game to show up at EVO anytime soon. The fact of the matter is this. In 2019, with such a strong selection of fighters available, the Battle for the Grid probably comes up a little short. The graphics, aside from the Rangers, feel a bit outdated, especially with a relatively small character roster. Plus, the music is super weak, and really, there's just so little to do outside of the standard 1 vs 1 ranked matches. No character creator or stage builder or major collectibles, stuff like that, which leaves little to incentivize the more casual players to stick around. But as a Ranger fan, this game hits the mark. The Shattered Grid storyline is one that any Ranger fan needs to check out one way or another. And seeing the Rangers look this cool and battling it out between Rangers of different eras is a blast. And the voice acting is just icing on the cake. Still, at the end of the day, Power Rangers Battle for the Grid is a solid and fun fighter that anyone can pick up and play and just have a good time. And while the hardcore, frame data fighting game fans might want to pass on this one, I think casual fighting game fans like myself will have a good time. And for Power Ranger fans, it is a must play. May the power protect you all.